like I mentioned in the beginning of the first game, we will see some level of strategy develop when you see similar situations kind of present themselves when teams all in the same lobby having to face the same circumstances. It allows you to see who rises above. And last game, it looked like Rogue had it in hand, but Pittsburgh Knights
Mm-hmm.
out of no, well, not necessarily out of nowhere, using cunning decision making and execution, were able to secure that first place finish with a bunch of kills. And even Penta showing up in the top 5, able to sneak their way in there. And Rogue with a third place finish. We see here Penta going back to their home near Razak. We'll see what we have here in the early game.
Yeah. One final thing I will say about the previous 2 games is that while they're on military base, at least they were good military base circles. They weren't water military or just weird, wonky in between stuff like that. So if we do have more circles, I hope they follow that general pattern because those actually aren't as bad. But looking at this plane route, very northern. It's on the northern half of, well, the northern half, I should say, of Erangel. And so it's going to be an interesting transition. You don't often see this plane route. And so, like, especially with this plane route, I really hope it's not a military base circle because then we're going to see virtually no time for looting for any of these teams. In fact, I'm even curious on where Rogue are going to go. They're going to North George. They're not even going to attempt to make their way into military base. They're going to go immediately right alongside Exalt Gaming, who, well, they didn't get a full casualty, but a drop and a lot of damage given to them right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a missed parachute or if they got tangled up with each other, because actually Breaksco and Cup of Magic both low.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Concerned maybe a bit of a drop bug or something like that. Regardless, they're going to have to find some meds. Cup of Magic still low. Might have received some pressure. Rogue is in the area, but no one with direct line of sight onto them just yet. Might have been Yannick, but regardless, Exalt will stay full strength. Rogue by Yannick by himself currently, but the rest of the team nearby, and we will see that first circle.
Oh yeah. This is fun, and I say fun because it is weird and interesting. It's oftentimes when we have personal experience commentating together on in circles in this area of the map just earlier this week, but this one is just on like the west of what we saw on Tuesday, I think it was. This includes Zarky in the first circle. The Zarky fields, which you don't often see them, but if they're in the ending phase of the game, are very fun to watch. And what I'm curious now, though, are teams like Vitality and Milta Power back in their homes. Vitality and Milta, FaZe and Milta Power, they had to take a long route to get to their looting spots, and they're going to have to take an even longer route now back to the zone, so they may not be at full strength when they come in.
No, it's going to be a long trek here for many teams. No one unfortunate enough to be as far south as military base, yes, but it is going to be FaZe with the longest trek that way. So TSM, they should be able to go north and into the zone, but right now we're already seeing Penta sending the scouts out looking for those centered compounds. Now, the thing with Water Circle, or at least water comprising most of the first zone, is that you hope that it gets adjusted out sooner rather than later. So now looking at the northern weight of this zone, they're going to be looking, all of these teams, for compounds not so much north but south of center. So it looks like right now we have Razmiki transitioning away from a very powerful compound there. There are 3-story buildings in that spot. You've mentioned one of your favorite compounds in the game, but even the northern George area should be good. Zoktan Nam already transitioning 2 on the scout this time around.
Let's hoping their early phase of the game is better than what we saw in the beginning. And it's not a military base, and so we're going to see if it may just be a military base thing that causes all these, not mistakes by them necessarily, but their troubles in the early game. And it looks like they are going to be safe for now. They've made their way past all the teams in there. Well, they continue to go to north. They may run into Simzi from Penta, who the compound that he's in is another one of the really strong compounds in this area, as well as the one you can see to the west of him that no one is in right now. But actually, it looks like they're trying to scout around the area. Simzi, though, laying out some shots, telling them to stay away. It's up to them right now to make the decision on whether they want to attack Simzi alone, but there's only 2 of them, and so that would be a little risky. Right now that they're continuing through, they see a couple more bikes on the path by. In fact, they're going to stop on their own and take some own shots at Gustav. And they land quite a bit of damage, but don't seem to be able to get the final blows as he stops on the cliffside behind the rock for at least immediate cover from the incoming shots.
Yeah, Zoktan Nam putting some pressure onto the lone member of Lumber Mill, and that's kind of the difficulty that a lot of teams seem to have in these scout phases, is maintaining their scout and staying alive, staying 4 up into the end game is one of the biggest deciding factors in whether or not you will be successful. So when these scouts are out looking for different spots for their team, trying to stay alive while scouting is one of the biggest factors there. So we see here Udir and Chronix spotting out another vehicle transitioning. And there's just kind of buzzing everywhere right now as all these vehicles are just kind of scanning around, seeing where the best spot is, with 1 minute remaining before the first circle shrinks.
Beaver, scout for Alliance, takes a couple of shots. But he's going to stay alive and instead just find some quick relief inside a hut of his own. I don't expect the rest of his teammates to come join up with him in that tiny little spot because that's a lot of bodies there. Instead, they're going to find the tail end of the plane crash. And it will take a lot of shots that AT is driving by. The hill cover is enough for him to get by without taking too much damage, even though we saw just how close he was. And he's going to call that out to Turtle, who continues to make his way past. Don't know if that was a little bit of a slide out. Okay, yeah, no. So Turtle's going to continue to make his way through these two squads. Don't know if they're aware of Vex just to the left. But instead, looks like all these teams are finally starting to calm down. I say that. auzom gets quite a number good shots onto Penta. Ultra goes down. That's going to be a full-on kill, so Penta actually take one of the first casualties.
And this is the difficulty when you have these transitions heading all the way north. You see Penta opting for that center spot in the zone, working so hard to get it. But when this circle first shrinks, you'll see that Vitality and FaZe more inclined just to keep looting. It'll give them more informed position to be able to choose when the circle changes. Whereas all these teams already in the zone and centered will have to react. And I think that's a bit of a shift in the meta we've seen over the last couple of weeks, where teams are not hard-pressed to rush into the center and get those compounds. That's more due to the fact that there's less teams to vie against. There's only 16 teams in this lobby, and that gives you a little bit more time and space.
auzom gets a second frag, this time on Mini Fridge Jr. from Noxious. Quite unfortunate for their team as well. He's crawling away to try and stay alive as long as possible, but there's no way that he's going to get picked up. He's dead in the water. At this point, it's just, auzom, is this kill going to get stolen from them? Because there may be an angle from Penta onto Mini Fridge. Penta being team number 3, right in the dead center with Tom Mill and Luxno and everyone else in that building. But no, it looks like no shots are coming onto him, and that's just going to be a bleed out. auzom going up in 2 kills early on to the game. Andy, though, he tries to find a spot on the coastline, and surprise, out peaks Lumber Mill, 2 of them. And it's an easy frag for them as well.
Not the first time we've seen Andy caught out by himself. Unfortunately for Method, they're going to try and answer here, only taking 1 casualty, but that is an important casualty here early in this game.
Indeed, yeah.
So especially with Andy, a high-powered individual able to land a lot of frags for his squad, Method it's important for them to stay 4 up through the mid game, because their strength really comes in their team play later in the game. We've seen them secure victory on the back of the 4 players working together. So losing one this early is a bit of a troublesome aspect for this game for Method. But we see Wookie Bookie and the rest of his squad split between 2 buildings. It looks like they have no option but to stay right now and stay engaged, poking away at Method.
Smartly so. Neither of the team wants to go into the full engage to potentially get the full squad wipe, especially on the case of Lumber Mill. Like, you know what, we got a kill, we got a frag, that's good enough for now, that's good enough for us, let's just wait it out at this point. Looks like, yeah, now here comes FaZe. Vitality shouldn't be too farther behind. They're coming in super late, understandably, because they were so far away. And it was actually interesting to see all the teams that were close to the zone at the start are already inside. All of them immediately, there was a clear cutoff between the teams who tried to go for this, who were trying to be first, and then the teams who knew they weren't going to be first, and so they said, let's just be last and we can get a lot of loot. Vitality being one of them. FaZe, we have Purge in the farm-ish area, as well as LFO coming in from Primorsk. And so those 4 teams are going to be the 4 coming in late. Luckily for them, none of these bridges seem to be camped, at least by my eyes right now. It'll be interesting to see what position they try and fight for, because if they try and go center, there's really not much space available.
Now, it looks like FaZe is going to come in on the eastern side of the zone and take that little complex just outside of Severny to the east, provides some decent cover, and essentially is a staging area. As we fly over, we see the shooting range here down below us. This little bowl area is good for natural cover, but does not provide a lot of maneuverability. FaZe just edging into Severity, being cautious. Jempty now on foot. The gas station uninhabited. Jempty has got his eyes on this crate. Might be able to pick himself up some nice loot. The crate is facing away, but he does actually, well, there's an 8x there. He might be able to get something out of this. The 8x being picked up off the ground. I'm not sure why someone would leave that behind, but nonetheless, he is able to collect some loot there. He will opt to leave the Kar 98 behind, or maybe that was the AK he picked up there. Yeah. So maybe still wanting for some loot is FaZe Clan, as we see the Knights already entrenched inside of Severity. I imagine one of those guys is carrying the crate loot we just saw. But FaZe is going to be able to sneak in here into Severity, and we will see this first circle transition finish with Vitality coming in just outside of Razak across the bridge, inclined to use all that space around them. They can't see it, but we can. So it's like TSM Vitality in the clear for now, as this first circle is going to continue transitioning.
Yeah, and Vitality, the player that right when they popped on the side, he saw a player get out of the vehicle and try to scout around them. Don't know if that's to see if they can't move further in or just for them to wait. But let's look at Jempty right now. On the scout, he's going up right against Lumber. We saw Andy do the same thing, and he didn't survive too much longer. Now Jempty has to stop and turn around, and he's gonna get dropped. I stab with the fallen kill, and again, just Lumber Mill not only taking frags off of these teams, they're taking the real big fraggers from these teams. So this is not only making it easier for them, but for the rest of the server to last as long as possible. Because Andy and Jempty being out in the early game, that's a little bit of a relief for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I'm interested to see why FaZe, while in the zone and without this transition beginning, decided to send Jempty out as a scout to the coast so early. As we see here, a house breach happening. It's Zoktan versus Wookie Bookie and Trifly. Trifly tried to maintain something here. Looks like Wookie Bookie shooting down onto the Uncharged. Uncharged taking some damage there, but unable to land a kill is Wookie Bookie. So now Zoktan is underneath them, and we'll see if this breach can happen. Brooder actually jumping up without any trade available. You got to wonder here if he's going to be able to do anything. He does have a trade there. Looks like he does have a teammate with him. So Dingle Raves is there to help. Meanwhile, it looks like Wookie Bookie is going to be leaving his friends on the coast, as Zoktan will stay 4 strong after a successful breach there. So a nice take in the center of this new zone. And we'll see Zoktan pick up a nice compound here as TSM is now transitioning into Severity. Severity occupied by 2 teams already. We have Rory coming in. He's already receiving fire. The Knights right on top of him. Voxic, knowing that his compound has been breached, Rory will go down. Kramit taking him down and finishing him with the DP-28. And now it's going to be TSM on the defensive. Will they be able to maintain this push? TSM laid behind only in the barn. So Rory by himself with AMPR. Now AMPR only by himself in that compound, surrounded on all sides by the Pittsburgh Knights.
Do they know that AIM is here, though? Because they got Rory. They could have figured that that was the one mini player, but at this point, it looks like Voxic does have his eyes on the angle that AMPR would be coming from. That window is still intact. And he's peeking around the corner. Trade immediately there. Actually, Kramer's first one to go down. Voxic takes a lot of damage in return. Actually, AMPR doing a lot of work, and Voxic doesn't feel comfortable making that push. But here comes the third from Drayden. Push on through, and that's going to be TSM. Now only down to 2 with Break and Vis on the southern end, being held off by Sir Survivor and FCE just to their east.
This is where I wonder, these split pushes. I think that one played out, maybe not intentionally. Obviously, you never intend to lose 2 players. Yeah. But the way they split push into different parts of areas and try and maintain that, as we see a ton of water still in play here. Is it working for TSM? Is that something that they can maintain? Is it something that is viable from a strategy standpoint? We see here that AMPR was able to pick up almost 2 downs there onto the Knights, but Drayden's rotate into that room. He thought it might have been coming from outside, ultimately taking his vision off that door and costing him. So now TSM down to 2. Only there are still tons of teams, 16 teams remaining. What do they do here in this particular game to continue to maintain their position and try and get into the end game?
Well, looks like we know what LFO are doing, and they are perfectly fine chilling out in their water. They have 2 swimmers and then 2 more on a boat, and I don't expect them to be trying to beach any time soon. Looks like a couple of shots being thrown out from the coast onto their position. But at this point, they are playing the long game, and with all this water in the circle, it's a very reasonable choice. You really can't fault them for it, even though it means there's less action for us to watch. But hey, they're here to win. They're not here to entertain. That's our job.
So Zogden still maintaining the center point here. FaZe moved into Severny. Knights sharing that territory with them. We see a crate dropping here well outside in the water. Probably not worth the, definitely not worth the risk.
This is pretty bad.
Whoever is making these crates is drunk. A 249, a cheek pad, a first aid kit, and some ammo.
Yeah,
great.
Pretty bad.
High level crate right there. So not worth the risk. Not that we would know that, not that they would know that, but Rogue here looks like they are up in this little shack. I like the vision they've got for themselves, looking down onto the shooting range. Yannick chilling inside the hut. And we have Alliance playing Groundhog here, just looking to see if there's anyone chilling down below. There is a motorcycle there. A spooky motorcycle underground is enough to give anybody pause, as Alliance has set up inside the bunker just outside the shooting range to the south. A good spot for cover, but not a good spot for vision. We'll see how Alliance continues through this game. They are in the zone, and now this last zone has revealed it. So Severny's still in, Zogden still in the center. So now it's going to be, seems like Exalt and Vitality moving in and trying to get dominant position here, or at least safe position, as Vitality has taken a very nice compound to the south, and Severny is popping off.
Yeah, Severny is still a heavy part, and that's where I expect to see perhaps a couple more teams try and make their way into it. But looking on the west side specifically, which is where most teams are going to be coming from, Knights have a really good position. But look at Rogue right now. Yannick trying to make his way past, scouting past that compound, which is held by Zogden, and he takes a couple of shots, dive bombs into the water, so he is going to stay alive for now, but unable to help his teams, the rest of his teammates, in the meantime, as they continue just their foot trek on the side of the hill alongside that hut. Unfortunately, not able to find a more central position with help from that scout, but at least they're still inside, as we noticed earlier. No, actually, they're getting back in their vehicles, and they are going to try and not bomb in necessarily, but drive into a more central position, perhaps scouting out that this area right north of shooting range is available for the taking. It's a risk, though, because you never know who's going to be inside this tunnel.
I like the positioning of Alliance on that hill. Now Rogue coming to inspect this tunnel for themselves, the bunker having just been abandoned by Alliance. Now Alliance has positioned themselves up on the shooting range hill, basically segregating Severny from the rest of the northern end of the map. Now it's Zogden who's going to play the spoiler here for them, because that compound being occupied makes their maneuverability very difficult, as we see Drayden putting pressure there as well. So really, it's a matter of deciding whether or not they want to try and take this compound, or at least try and poke away. Zogden and Alliance could go head-to-head here and essentially establish dominance over this area. So Alliance is going to decide to back it off and come down to the shack, having to give up the hill. So Zogden scaring away Alliance right now, and that's going to be a big boon for them to try and clear out that hill, which is a major threat to the compound they're currently holding.
And actually, looking at the southeast is Vitality, who we've kind of ignored for a while because they've been slowly sneaking their way in, and they take the crossroad, or at least the cross compound. I don't exactly know what people call it nowadays, because it's not exactly crossroads. But in any case, they're in the southeast side, and so depending on where the next circle goes, they could be doing a lot of damage, but they haven't seen too much action as of now, just because of their safe path into the zone due to their late entrance. Right now, they were actually on Purge, who the blue is closing right behind them, and they tried to make an immediate dash inside, but they came across Exalt Gaming, who now all four heads are turned towards their position. They have to make a long lap around, but still shots being thrown out. Satan, though, does get a drop on Udi or Mayfire, and so that's going to be helpful to allow them to get in without taking too much damage. Don't know if Exalt Gaming want to commit so heavily into this stop once one of their teammates already got dropped.
Absolutely. We saw Alliance there taking some shots at Rogue, who are in this little bunker area still trying to maintain some level of cover, but they now have them hemmed in, as we see Method now pushing in the open towards Stab and Gustav, who have played spoiler for many a scout so far, taking down Andy and Jempty. Stab and Gustav still holding this coastal rock area. Leighton putting pressure there, while 8C has actually swam around behind them. So it looks like Tunican is there as well. So lots of solo players and a lot of factors in play here on this coastline cam. LFO looks like they're maneuvering around in the zone. However, is Longo. So Longo might have to stop and med here. Tunican also taking damage as he swims along, I believe, unless that's just the trick of the angle. He might be in the zone already. But HC is ahead, and Tunican is inside the zone. So Longo taking damage as the circle has finished his transition, so it's ticking away very quick here. Longo might go down if he's not careful. He has to stop and med, and he will not get it off in time. That's too bad. So Longo will go down to the zone here. And now it's you can see if Method is going to be able to displace Gustav and Stab. Right now, FaZe also engaged elsewhere. Mikaz and the rest of his squad are spread out, putting lots of pressure onto him. And Kablooey, there goes the vehicle. The nade landing true on Fuzzface, and he will get finished off here. So FaZe, Fuzzface away from his team.
Yeah, don't know if that was just a late entrance, his pathing got stopped, or that was perhaps a fight for control. But here come the remaining 3 members of LFO. Now that their island out in the distance is no longer in the next zone, they're making their quick way onto the beach, trying to smoke their entrances. So it's going to be a hard entrance no matter what. They have Haxede and Mixie right looking at their location, or at least going to be the first people to try and stop them if they are spotted out. FCE, though, at the same time, also in the southern tip of Severny, taking some shots out towards Vexed, but taking quite a few in return. Don't know how much they can commit to this, because 2 members of Vex able to get into that low ridge just to the east of Severny, can help shepherd in their remaining teammates as well. But oh, Nayu, he is spotted out by Mixie, who gets a first drop onto them. Don't know if LFO are going to be able to answer back very well with these 2 remaining players. Well, make that 1 remaining player, and Bladecedo is going to now try and prone his way into the zone. It's a long prone, if that is the case.
These beach entries are very difficult to manage. There's no cover and a very long run, and all of these players are very good good shooters. So trying to get up that beach without taking at least 1 or 2 casualties is very difficult and just nearly impossible without a foothold or a bit of luck, essentially, as we see Rogue here still receiving pressure. Exalt Gaming have moved up to take a look at them. They're still in the bunker here. Rogue now down to 2 members only. Jazza down. Fuffins going for the res. And we will see a transition here about to start. And the circle is moving. Method did secure the spot on the coastline, but has not secured their safety, as they now have to move into Zoktin Nam, who's got the compound on them. AC already receiving pressure late in there as well. So we'll see how Method can get into this zone, if at all, as Zoktin Nam is held right on the edge of the zone, and they will be able to take the hill that we were talking about Alliance holding afterwards. So Zoktin Nam in decent position here to play gatekeeper and to put pressure on all members along this western edge of the zone.
It's not an easy gatekeep for them, because they can't stay in that compound forever, because it's just barely on the side of the edge, but absolutely they can then, after they deal with Method, that they are at least suspect, if not 100% aware of. Well, now they're aware of, because Leighton gets spotted up by Broder. Broder taking some shots, picking down to 50% HP. Leighton has an easy tree to hide behind to med up, but Broder going around the side trying to find a second angle. And now Leighton from inside the blue is taking a lot of damage, has to continue his heal up. It's not looking very good for him at this point. Able to bandage, able to full on first aid, actually, but Broder is still holding the angle, keeping him trapped out into the blue, making it run down, and yep. That's not going to happen, and that is, I believe, Method out in 13th place.
Yeah, that's a tough break. Method having worked so hard to displace the members of Lumber Mill on the coastline, then get zoned entirely and decisively by Zoktin Nam. They're unable to do anything from a maneuver standpoint and get eliminated. So now we see the Knights getting a favored circle, maintaining their spot inside the zone, as does TSM quietly plotting through the mid game, having lost 2 of their players early, still maintaining some level of safety in their building. But that it looks like Penta in a similar situation, trying to escape here, and now it's all of Exalt having them pinned in the shack. So we'll see here if Penta will be able to break out, but ultimately, Cam, not a lot of options for them.
Really, now they're gonna have to land their shots, and they're already at a man disadvantage, so it's not looking too great for them indeed. And the flip side, Exalt Gaming looking really good for them. At this point, depending on where Zoktin Nam goes, if they go east or south, this could be a fight 4 versus 4 over this hill, and it looks like Zoktin Nam's attention is turned towards the south, at least for the meantime. But at least Penta, they're caught between these 2 squads, and it's not looking that great. Actually, while I say that, though, Exalt, they don't want to stick too heavily into this. They want to find a position in the zone before the blue closes in on them, but while doing so, they may be running into, well, Jazz is alone from Rogue. He's not going to be peeking out from that tunnel, but they could be running into a couple of members, actually the full entire squad of Purge, which is Team 15, holding the very southwest edge of the next zone.
Absolutely. Wick, I'm not sure if he's in a trapping position here, but he will have a direct line of sight onto all these players transitioning in front of him. So Exalt immediately under fire from Wick at this edge of the zone. They are holding them on, or sorry, holding them on the edge of the zone now as it is transitioning. So Breaksco and company trying to find a seam here. Got up to the house at the shooting range, but now they have the zone at their backs. Buffins stuck underground currently is going to have to come out as well. Looking right at Penta, who's receiving pressure from Zooked and Nam. So this transition is going to lead to a lot of deaths. Severny also in transition as FCE is taking some casualties from this off screen here. But right now it's all about Purge Gaming holding out Exalt. They have given up the high ground with the fence. So Exalt might be able to maneuver here, but there are going to be lots of lines of sight onto them. So Exalt, Rock, and a hard place going to have to try and cross around. And it's just a bit of a mishmash of action here as Chronix taking some fire. Purge in the dominant position right now with cover. What can you do if you're Exalt here, Cam?
You have to hit your shots, but it's going to be even harder now because Scuffle Magic gets downed by a grenade, I believe. And Wick here, hearing the footsteps around him, holding the backside. May have spotted Breakso just the last moment. Has to hurry, though, because he himself is now in the blue, vaulting over the side. But then he spots Breakso. Can he get the spray down? He can, indeed, without taking too much damage. Actually, any from him. It's all from the blue at this point. Easily grabbing some loot before he continues the run in. And now they have control of the southwest side. In the meantime, Zooked and Nam on the west side of the zone on that ridge, but no one is in except for Alliance right now. It's a big open field in this next zone except for a tower. And so the real question right now is, can TSM hold off FCE? Can they hold off FaZe? And yes, indeed, they can hold off FaZe because FaZe dies to the play zone. But that's also the Knights that they have to worry about. Coming in from Severny, trying to go into that field, but the path through the field is not going to be easy for any of these teams because it's all open area. They can get shot from every position in the zone.
Absolutely. There's only one solid piece of cover there, and it's going to be, difficult to maintain or even get to, as we see the Knights putting pressure now onto Zooked and Nam, having a good hold on that hill, trying to get down into the open here, and they take a bunch of casualties. Alliance is there as well to meet them. So now it's going to be all about Zooked and Nam trying to maintain. Oh, they're going for a res here in the open. Alliance pops out, actually takes a casualty. Brooder Brennish taking a turn there and downing one of Alliance. So Brennish finishing Fever off. Metered right there, starts spraying with the AK, giving away his position. He will trade back, shooting feverishly, and ultimately Meter gets taken down. So Zooked and Nam will maintain some level of momentum here in the zone, but the Knights have already circled all the way out. Oh my gosh, the Knights out of nowhere come in and absolutely destroy what remains of Zooked and Nam, or at least does a lot of damage. Meanwhile, TSM and Vitality very active, eliminating very quickly all of FCE. Cam, this is very hectic.
Absolutely, but the question is right now, Knights, they have two people inside here to try and take position in the zone to allow the other two coming in, but the two remaining in Severny from TSM, that's going to be the difficult part, because Vitality, you can see in the southeast just on the side, taking a lot of shots on everyone. They are late to the game, but they are here to answer back in 4 strong, already with 4 kills into their pockets, and they're in prime position to gain a lot more. TSM throwing out all the smokes that they can, trying to make their way into the zone. You can see the Knights, Survivor, and Voxic trying to make their own way as well, taking a lot of damage, both Survivor especially, and actually a drop on a Voxic. Survivor having to heal up too. I don't expect these 2 from Knights to be able to make their way in. They may just be just down to 2, and now Break and Vis taking a lot of damage through the smoke from Vitality and the Knights.
Yeah, it looks like they had the right idea. I like the way that they've made themselves a path in the smoke. But Break did go down, and he is outside the zone as well as Vis there. So they are going to have to continue to try and press. I don't know if the res is going to happen on the Break there. Vis ultimately dies to the play zone, so that'll be it for TSM going out in 4th place. A well-fought 4th place, as now it is Knights and Vitality who have snuck into this game 4 strong, I believe. I don't know if they've lost anyone just yet, but looking at... Yeah, they are 4 up, and that's not a situation you want to be facing Vitality
Absolutely
in.
Not.
And so it's the Knights in the shack, 2 up. And it looks like we have Purge 2 up as well, and 1 down will go Shiv. So that's a pickup for the Knights, but they can't capitalize on anything right now. because they're just too far away. So the poking is going to continue here. Drayden doing his best to do damage, but the damage being returned. So it's no armor on Drayden. Crema, just having been taken down very low, also very low health, having to med. And the zone is now starting to move, or it hasn't started to move yet, but they've got about 45 seconds before they need to move. And Vitality is cutting off their angle to escape, bring in UAZs as cover, and we'll get a res onto Shiv, Cam. So this is not looking great unless Purge can rotate and put some pressure onto them. We'll see what happens here with Vitality in the end game.
Yeah, still using the vehicles that they're able to maintain this whole time. Still not a lot of cover, but they're able to make their own. And Wick now picks up behind the rock. He's spotted out by Vitality, takes a lot of damage, can't trade too much in return. And he's at a 1 HP. Can he survive for much longer? That's not going to be the case. Monkey with the final shot onto him. And now it is just Kaint left, trying to stay still. Everyone is dying all around him. And he just wants to try and snake it out to get a clean second, waiting for Vitality to finish off the rest of the Knights. Firing into the smoke, thinking someone is still in there, but that's not the case. But now he sees Crema jump in, but Drayden trading back shots. In return, Shiv with no helmet, he's going to stay behind and try and deal damage and allow the rest of his team to gain position on the single soul hut that's inside the zone.
I like the aggressive play from Shadow here to come up and try and take this away. They can't essentially zone, they can't get that far across. But they have established presence in the zone. The res coming out. Knight staying too strong, but immediately the pressure comes back. So now Kaint over on your right side, all he's hoping is that the Knights go down here and he can get himself a second place, but he's already started shooting at Shadow. He stands up, and Drayden will take down Monkey. Kaint jumping around, hoping for a seam there, and he gets taken down. So it's going to be the Knights securing at minimum a second place, but the game is not over yet. And he has the Kar 98. He has the ability to land those shots. Araxi moving in. Monkey's still down outside the zone. The zone closing. The Knights do have an edge here, Cam. So it's just a matter of hitting shots, but a lot of damage already been done to both sides. No helmets, no armor on a lot of these players. Ammo might be a concern, and meds always a concern. Scanning is Shiv. Scanning. Looking around. Anything.
Ooh.
What do you do here if you're the Knights?
You just have to hope that you're able to continue to hit their shots. Yeah, the zone does help them out a little bit, but I believe their one bridge is out. And oh, no, you don't stand still for too long. Not against Shiv. He's going to take you down. Crema falls once again. Drayden, trying to pop out a couple grenades, but he peeks around the side, not going for the res just yet, but it doesn't matter because a nade from Shadow does the trick, and Vitality take game number 3. Coming in very late, only getting 11 kills. But they're able to take the entire thing 4 alive up until the very end. At the same time, though, Knights with a very, very respectable second place finish with, how many is this? 14 kills of their own. Yeah, doing a lot of damage from that sovereignty position.
So it looked like Purge able to sneak in and take a 3rd place over TSM. A little bit of an inactive game there. I think that that split push kind of put a hamper in their ability to frag in the mid and late game, but TSM locking up 4th place with Zokden Nam doing a lot of work there in the mid game to hold their position in the zone with a respectable kill count to match, and they secure a 5th place. But that was an intense end game. These circles have not been allowing too much maneuverability, but these one-to-one fights have been exciting. That is it for this game. We will be back very shortly for game number 4, and we will see you after a very short break.